Hello everybody, I hope that you are doing very well and welcome to this evening's Contenders live stream. I really want to give that microphone dropping out. Are you ready to rumble? I'm really looking forward to tonight's live stream, as I know many of you are too, being part 2 of the Parallels live stream, and I have just really enjoyed teaching you all about parallel channels, because since last week there's clearly been had a big influence, and I've noticed like everybody like using channels in their trading, and obviously this is just today in the group we're seeing people posting channels, people posting channels, and it's really good. And obviously because these are profitable trades as well, so that's even better. But I like to see that people are really using the channels as I've taught. And it's all coming together, and now today we have part 2 of the channel, so it's good to see that you're all learning, and that's obviously the objective, so good to see. And today we have part 2. Okay, let me just double check everything seems to be fine. Yes, all audio is brilliant. As with the way that I sort of run this as normal now, I will keep all questions to the end, and then I'll run through all the questions at the end. It just keeps the flow better. And so just for an overview of what we'll be doing tonight, okay, so we'll start off with EOS chart of the week. And this is going to be a bit of a funny one. It was a long position, by the way, on EOS. But if you were in the Champions live stream on Sunday, you'll know I was looking to short this, but I went into a long here. And then for a swing trade in my mind, and then this is where my day trading brain just totally took over the trade, and you'll see how I totally reversed out of this idea. But I'll cover EOS first, okay, and then I'll go into trading parallel channels part 2. Okay, and then next week will be the final part of the channels, where I'm going to go over part 3. So as you can tell, there is so much on channels. So this is part 2, and maybe part 4. I'm not too sure. Hopefully we'll finish it next week, if I'm honest. But yeah, there is still more to come next week. Okay. Yes, I totally agree, Chris. Like everybody growing. Yeah, Chris's comment: growing, getting better, to know each other. It is really good. So yeah, it's brilliant. And I love it as well, because everyone's like a family. It's always I just really love it. Moving on to. EOS. I've accidentally put engine. I'm so used to trading engine coin. This is meant to say EOS. That's my engine coin brain kicking in there. So apologies. But here we go with EOS. Okay. So just so you're aware, by the way, that I trade this on BitMEX. Okay, so BitMEX. Although as you can see here, oh no, sorry, this is actually on the this was taken from the BitMEX chart. But I also always, when I'm trading on BitMEX alts, I'm always referring to the Binance charts. Okay, more so. I just really prefer trading off of the Binance charts. The prices are give or take a few sats. So obviously not picture perfect exact, but you give or take a few sats, and I prefer, just so you're all aware, I prefer actually charting on Binance charts, although I'm trading it on BitMEX, just for aware. Okay, but basically what I was looking for here on this long, okay, so this was a long waiting for the support. So obviously we had this extended move to the upside. No way I'm buying it at the top here, no way. Okay, so I was waiting for that drop, and I will just highlight on this chart exactly what my original plan was. So I originally really wanted to move up to here, okay, and I just wanted to see this move up and short here. I really wanted to short here and play it back down, to be honest. Okay, but then I decided in the end to basically try and get into a long from here, and at least take it up to here on take profit 1, and then I was going to reassess the trade. Do we get rejected there? Then I would close my long and open a new short. Okay, or do we in fact not hold that level at all and just go straight through it? Then I had take profit 2 at the weekly, take profit 3 at the secondary weekly, which is about 20%. Okay, as you're going to see, this in the end has come down to entry really, and well, I'll cover it. We'll show you what's happened, because it's not been really too great, if I'm honest. It basically was a long entry, and it was originally planned for sort of week long trade. Okay, from daily and hourly support together on top of the golden pocket. So the support was definitely there, and it did get a bounce. So we got about a 3.5% bounce. So gains were to be had. Obviously not 20% gains, but 3% gains. So we did have a bounce from this level. So it was pretty nice. Wide stop loss. Okay, this is just because I didn't want to have my stop loss just below the low. I placed it down below a lower position. Okay, so obviously, I think you're starting to realize that when you have wider stop losses, you have to have smaller position sizes. So you work out your position sizes from your stop loss percentage, basically. So you're always using different amounts. So when you are trading with a you know, you can trade with a 20% stop loss if you wanted to, but obviously then that means your position sizes are obviously very small. It's all comparative to your account. What's small to me, mate? You know, you know, small is you can't define small because each person's account's a different size. But you know, you get the idea. But basically, yeah, take profit at the local high, which was this high for me. Not too local, I guess, but this high here at the, not the double top high I'm referring to, this high here, okay, where I'm just searching for liquidity. And yeah, so basically take profit one was there, okay, where the high, where I first wanted to look for a short, okay, and we'll only continue with the long if it doesn't reject. I did believe that we were going to reject, but nevertheless I wanted to take the long up to that level, okay. So second take profit at that secondary weekly, and then the take profit at the top, okay. So then results of how this has gone. This is what we had today. So this was the results of what kind of happened. I will flip over to the chart, but as kind of wrote when I was updating this morning, it did, and I posted this in the group as well, you know, we were coming up to this golden pocket resistance, which was also the top of this parallel channel. And this is for me where I love to manage my trades. So although I entered this of the expectations of holding it for a midterm trade, I kind of my day trader got the better of me, and I ended up taking 50% profit at the top of this move, okay, and I actually got stopped on the last 50%, also in slight profits, but I moved my stop loss up, and this, as you're going to see on flip over the chart, has since this photo, which was 230, has since dropped down. So yeah, it was a profitable trade, I guess, but yeah, this for me as well, I guess successfully, but I like to overmanage my trades. So yeah, it was in the end. I'll flip over the chart now and show you what's going on here on EOS basically. Okay, so what we can see here, okay, so what we can see is really nice confluence on the original idea. Okay, so on the original idea, and this is just perfect examples. Today Bitcoin has been channeling perfectly, and here we have EOS channeling perfectly. So just really nice examples for what I'm going to be teaching today, I guess. But what we could see here is obviously this high. Okay, so we had a high. Okay, and what did we have for confluence? We had from fib from low to high, we had the golden pocket. Okay, and obviously when we're looking at it here, what we can see is this top line is the obviously this 61865. We had that golden pocket on that horizontal level. Okay, so we did see pretty perfectly a drop down into the golden pocket, and if I just remove those fibs a second, just so you can see they were there, the channel came in. Okay. And if we just move this up to the connecting point here, we can see perfect touches, okay? And I guess I should adjust this now. It's kind of moved it out a little bit, but you can see the perfection of this channel today. We were literally going from high to low to high to low to high to midpoint to bounce back up to the high to midpoint. You cannot get any more perfect than this. This is absolutely perfect, okay? And this in itself, okay, if you're trading the channel for what it is, okay, gave you a short, okay, to midpoint, another entry on a short, down to midpoint, down to the bottom, up to the top, which is then, okay, so then we're taking a fib from the high to the low, and this was for me where I closed out 50% this morning, was then up to the 618 top, okay, lower high, midpoint, okay, and then what were we coming down to now? We're coming back down to that horizontal level, okay, so you know we've got now another confluence of the channel basically. So we can just appreciate how perfect this channel literally is, okay, because every single point is just absolutely perfectly respected. So yeah, I'm not in the long anymore, so I'm not in this long, okay. So what we could say is expectations going forwards of this, okay, and this is what I'm going to be covering in today's lesson of when do we look to long something that's coming out of a downward sloping channel, okay. What I would want to see, okay, is a breakout of here, okay, and then a close above this horizontal level. So what can we see here? Okay, this is a really key pivotal horizontal, okay, so we look here, support, resistance. Now just breaking up here for me, you know, let's say it does happen, just breaking up here is not enough. Why? Because this is lower high. What do we want to see in this channel? Even if it breaks to the upside, it's not enough. It needs to break out of the channel, and then it needs to take this high, okay, and that is where I would re-enter the long now, and I would obviously re-enter it higher, but I would re-enter that long still only with that first objective target, but nevertheless that would be then a change of structure and for me an entry, or we're looking for quite a drop down. I think at this point, if we lose this support, yeah, you could see like another entry, what, around 3.5, around 3.5 region, but really we're either waiting for this to reclaim some old resistances, flip them to the support, or it's very likely you're gonna get a much better entry. Okay, if this doesn't hold, then yeah, you could see this drop down heavy. Okay, so I'd be keeping my alerts basically at this point, because I'm not in the trade anymore. Just keeping an alert on the golden pocket here. Do you close above, or do you get rejected again? I guess keep an alert there. Keep an alert for around 3,540 to see a reaction coming in around 3,540. Okay, or if not, then yeah, I would be cautiously looking for a new position on EOS, if I'm honest. Okay, I'd be very, very cautious when something goes up like it did. So if you look on the daily, when something goes up like this, okay, obviously it can, bull flag continuation, but if it does start to drop down and lose those supports, it can retrace, just as quickly as it went up. Goes up really quickly, retraces it, all. So yeah, just be aware of that. Although you do have the potential for bull flag continuation, I would just be aware of that 618 right now. It's clearly the resistance on the chart. Okay. Ooh, I'm speaking quite fast. It's just because I have a lot to get through. Apologies if I am speaking too fast for you all this evening. But yeah, there's a lot to get through, and I'm also just really excited. I'm really happy. I should have filled that up before I began. My mistake. So yeah, as you can see here, we were looking for a midterm. Took 50% at the top here. Trailed stop loss up into profits, and yeah, obviously that has dropped down since here and stopped me out. What I'll show you, by the way, is, so this is obviously looking at the here we are looking on Binance, but if we do flip across to BitMEX, it did perfectly bounce off the daily. Okay, so what we can see here is really, really perfect daily levels, and this is where undeniably these levels are just the best, aren't they? We can see daily resistance. Okay, we got 0 closes above daily. What is then support? Look how perfect the bounce was. Okay, so we're looking at daily resistance, daily support, bounce to the exact tick. Okay, where do you reject? Okay, we're talking about two sats, but you literally got the move from the bottom daily up to the top daily. So you cannot get any more perfect than that. You literally cannot get any more. Really, you can't get any more perfect. So that's obviously a move down to the bottom of the daily, move up to the top of the daily, literally like range bound trading. This is also what I'm going to cover today, of how can you work out when a channel's forming. So let's say when you have two major levels like this, a major daily, a major weekly, another major daily, I would prefer this to be a weekly and a weekly, just because getting, those are even stronger, and monthly is stronger again. Like if you have two monthly levels, then obviously they're the strongest. But this is when you can predict a range forming. If you're bouncing off of a daily and then rejecting at a daily, well, what's to stop you just looking now for this to range? Okay, and then you're either waiting for the range to break or the range to, at one time it's going to break. But until then, if you're stuck between two major levels, you can get an advantage on the competition of predicting that you're going to get the third bounce here. Okay, and you are in fact going to end up being range bound. Okay, but I'm going to be covering that a little bit later in the stream. But that is basically what we're looking at. Okay, cool. So moving on from last week. So I will quickly, I won't bother going through those. So we got to slide number 14. Okay, so this is where we picked up from last week. Okay. So, yeah, parallel channels. What can we say here? That I've obviously received quite a few questions from people during the week, which does help me as well as a mentor now. It's like from receiving questions, I also then, because I've been doing this for so long now, I've obviously been trading many years, it kind of becomes second nature, and it's kind of like a weird one. Like, obviously I'd never done teaching before, but as coming into like now mentoring and from just doing this, it's kind of like, for me, trading is like the back of my hand. I don't really think about these things, and then obviously when you teach it, there's obviously some questions that people are going to be remaining with, and then when people ask the questions, it makes me realize, oh yeah, so this is what I need to think in my mind, which is kind of, at first I might not have an answer. For an example, I need to, because I'm just so naturally doing everything just without sort of thinking, then I have to think of these are the reasons, and then it helps also with the content. So this is one of the questions that I received a lot, probably about 5 times, of can you get upward sloping channels in a sideways channel? And you absolutely can. So basically, this is just a bit of a question that I've received. I wanted to add in here on slide 14 because it wasn't here. But what we're looking at is upward sloping channels within a higher time frame sideways channel. So this is really, really normal to get, and you'd have seen this on Bitcoin recently, where you, as you range from high to low of your channel. Okay, I'm going to slow it down. So as we range from high to low of the channel, okay, naturally, as you start to range then from the low of the channel to the high of the channel, you can definitely expect this to start to form an upward sloping channel to your obviously target. So if you are longing at the bottom of the target, let's remember we are taking profits in the middle or potentially closing. And remember back from last week, this all depends on the time frame of the channel. If you're looking at a big channel, then obviously you are closing the trade in the middle, okay? But if it's just a day trading channel, then you take profits, aim for the top, generally speaking, okay? So what we can see here is from the bottom of the channel, we come up to the midpoint of the channel, we come down for a low. What does that give us? That gives us our 3 anchor points. Anchor point 1, anchor point 2, anchor point 3. We can put on this parallel channel, okay? What are we aiming for? The mid to the top. And so what do you get here? You hit the middle of the channel, you reject, you come up again. You know, just like we saw in EOS, if you're 2 sats off or like $1 off, it's always worth, personally, I will always front run a level, okay? You have seen recently with like times of Icon and different other few coins that, you know, if you keep not trying to front run things by $1 or $2, then you do miss out on trades occasionally. So I like to front run anyway. But here we can see an example of pretty perfect touch, if we're honest, at the top of the resistance. Okay, and then we obviously got our rejection. So as right here, when price hits the bottom of the channel, we look to long to the midpoint. And at this point, you wouldn't have an upward sloping channel, but you would just be trading from the bottom to the midpoint. But then as you go from bottom to midpoint to form this kind of, this is actually a 618 retracement, by the way, from low to high. 618 curving little bottom here. Okay, so it's a 1 hour chart. So we have 4 hours of a little curving bottom, okay, making its way back up. That's where you can put on that parallel channel, expecting this to hold 1, 2, 3. You then have the midpoint, take profit of this new channel, okay? So this is when you could, let's say that we're in a very big daily channel. So this is a sideways daily, and then within the sideways daily channel, we have a new upward sloping day trading channel, yeah? So then you could be in multiple positions at the same time if you want to get complex with it all. But you know, here we're really be looking for our long up to midpoint, and you see the rejection that happens, rejection, and then long up to the top of the channel and a rejection. What must I say? Seen a long higher wick like this, do you really, I mean, I'll put the question, do you think this is a bullish or bearish wick? Okay, we can see it got continuation, but I would always see in this not be expecting continuation to the upside. If you see a massive upwards wick like this going through, okay, so let's just really highlight what we go through here. We go through all of these highs, so all of those highs, so you basically take all that liquidity and then you come straight back below. I'd always be looking for a bearish scenario after this. Obviously, we do in fact get one more move up to the middle of this parallel channel. And if you have a memory like mine, this was all taken live, by the way. You can always tell it's live because it's got the countdown timer, but this was taken live back on the 28th of August. You can go back and see what happened here. This was a short entry for me, and as you all remember, this ended falling down. Literally, the next 30 minutes, we saw a drop here from 10,240 down to the low 9,000. So we saw about a $1,000 drop, and it was all from trading this parallel channel. Okay, that's why I was in that short. Okay, and then it obviously fell down very heavily, and it was all from day trading this channel, really. And so this is why I love channels. Really love them. But yeah, that was just a first starting off slide to answer some of those questions of can you see these sort of upward sloping channels within a sideways channel? Absolutely you can. Okay, and yeah, Chris White with the answer, that is a bearish looking candle. Okay, so if you ever see upwards, it's really when you go through highs as well. So if you go through highs, okay, with a really high upper wick like that, is bearish. Okay, the same if you see a long lower wick like this onto support, it's bullish. Okay, so long lower wick onto the bottom of support here, then you would expect a rise, and you obviously rise to the midpoint here, and you obviously then can see support flipping to resistance. You come back down again to the midpoint, to the bottom. Okay, so you can see this is really range bound, by the way, and you obviously here get another touch on the bottom up to midpoint, higher low, higher high here, but high upper wick is giving you a bearish vibe to this move, and then in the end this does in fact fall down quite heavily. Okay, so yeah, that was just starting off. So going on to, funnily enough, I never had planned EOS, what I covered just 2 minutes ago, but this was one that I planned from the 28th, of giving you the examples of how can you get an idea of a range is going to form before it's even formed. Okay, so this is something that I'm always looking for. So I'm always looking to try and get in early. You know, I find us, if you want to be a successful trader, you need to really get in before the herd, you want to get in really before everyone else starts identifying patterns. I think this is something that you're going to see as you progress as a trader. That, especially if you look on Twitter and you see 100 people posting the same chart, you can guarantee they're gonna. There's no guarantees in trading. Let me rephrase that. You're likely gonna think they're wrong. So you really want to be ahead, thinking of the crowd. Okay, so I love to find these early ranges because essentially we have a step up on the competition. Okay, maybe other, I don't actually find many people trading these, but when you do, if you can get an early head start and get into a long of envisaging a range to form, okay, then you're ready for your long here up to resistance, for example. Okay, but going back to what I want to really tell you is early signs a range could form. Okay, so how could you get an early indication that the range is formed? EOS gave it away a little bit, but what do you see originally starting here? You see resistance, resistance, resistance broken, and that is a back test of resistance turning into support. We've obviously gone through SR flips in detail on a previous live stream, but here we see a resistance flipping into support. Okay, so what do you do? And this is a daily level, so I want to just emphasize we're not just taking this off of a Fibonacci. It has to be a high time frame horizontal. For me, high time frame horizontals are obviously our daily, preferably weekly or monthly levels. Okay, monthly is the strongest. Okay, and all quarterly levels, obviously your number one. Quarterly, then you're going down to your monthly, then you're going down to your weekly, and then daily. Dailies are still strong, let's not get it wrong, but obviously the higher the time frame, the stronger it is, but dailies are still 100% respected well, so they're fine. And then what we see here is a move from the old resistance flipping into support, so we can see that we've seen a support coming in at our daily level. Okay, from support coming in at the daily level, what are we seeing up here? A daily resistance. Okay, this is on the 30-minute chart, by the way, 30-minute chart, remember that. But we are seeing a move from the bottom up to the top, and rejections. See all these up higher wicks? This is forming, really telling you, especially when you see signs like this. So especially as you see like high wicks like this, and you just see closes above, wicks above, that's not bullish. Okay. So as you see the high upper wicks, you can tell, you get an early indication that resistance is holding, every sell is getting met. Okay, this is a sign, especially then really you would be cautiously here, you'd be cautious, and then as you come back in and close, that's your sign that it's held. Okay, so you'd be cautiously looking for shorts at this point. Personally, I'd be cautiously looking for a short, and then my confirmation would be, you could say there's a few signs of confirmation here that the resistance is holding. First is that you come down below that low, you make a lower low. Okay, obviously if you're moving down like this, it's not bullish. Okay, descending triangle-esque, it's not bullish if you take the low. And then on top of that, what would be my number one would be this simple fact here, that we are closing back within that potential channel that we're looking to form. So you see here, price closes back under the resistance line, which indicates the resistance is holding strong and could short to the middle of the last move. So what we would say here is we could potentially then be looking to short up to the 0.5 fib, okay, or just the middle of this range from high to low. Middle of the range would be here, wouldn't it? And then you also see on that middle of the range, what do you have? You have old. You have a reason to look for here for a short. Even if you're going down to the bottom, that you'd still be looking at that mid-range as a pivotal area because of the old price action that's going in here. So you can get early signs a range may form. There's never a guarantee. I just really want to... There's never, ever a guarantee in trading. You have to remember that it's all about probabilities. But what we can say is we have probabilities in our favor when we're using this type of technical analysis. But there is never a guarantee. But, it's all... you want all these confluencing factors. You do have the probabilities in your favor. So, if you have a move from major support, okay, so major support up to major resistance, and the price starts to turn and back close under the resistance, then it appears the resistance is holding, and you could short back down to the bottom of the range, which will in turn start to create your channel. And this is what happened on Bitcoin, by the way. So what we would see here is from our low, we've seen a rejection coming in at the high. So what would we be looking for? We'd be looking for something like this to start forming, wouldn't we? Okay, we'd be looking for that to start forming because we've seen an early sign of support and resistance coming in at a major level. So there's obviously a clear imbalance. So what are you looking for here? There's a clear imbalance between demand and supply. So okay, you have an excess of supply up here and a demand coming down here. So what happens when you have a supply and demand? You move sideways in your channel until you find a fair value, and then you start to find your value within this area. Okay, so that's how you get these channels forms, just until supply and demand eventually then runs out and you move on to your next levels. But that's why you form these sort of trading ranges. Okay, so yeah, that's an early sign of how you can predict get in on a third touch. Okay, because remembering back, we have to wait for these sort of third touches, but obviously an upward sloping is very difficult. Okay, obviously you could have a fib in here, and sideways is a lot easier because horizontals are always stronger than a trend line as well. So horizontals are number one, but nevertheless, yeah, a bit of a bad example. I wouldn't predict an upward sloping or downward sloping. Obviously I'd trade a Fibonacci from here, which it did hold, by the way, but yeah, still sideways channels are easier to predict, not upward sloping. I'd just mention that while I'm at it. Okay, so moving on to slide number 16. So here what we can see, so this was an update of this channel, by the way. So this was our previous of early sign it could form, and then this was the live picture of it actually did form. So what we can see here is this is where we were looking originally at it. Okay, so we were looking originally at it after this. Okay, oh no, back here. So this is where we were looking. So there's the resistance that flipped into support, and that was our coming down. Okay, so you can see it's not perfect. We know in trading nothing's going to be perfect, but we can see it ended up in a really nice range. Okay, so what is this? A deviation from the range, but we did go from high. The signs of the breakdown were there. Midpoint actually didn't hold in the end, and you went straight down. What did you do? So let's just highlight here what we done really perfectly. We took out the long lower wick. Okay, and what did we do here? Take that liquidity and run it back up inside the channel. Just so perfect, just so perfect. What do you then start doing here? You start range bound. Okay, what we can see here is that's your high. Okay, and really you get an SR flip there, so a little bit before the top. So you always want to look at price structure, and then what do? We run up to the top, we come back down to the bottom, form a wick, form a low. What do we do here? We take the low and then come right back up to the top. Okay, back to the top. That is a very big deviation, very big, really big upper wick, very bearish. As you know, 26th of August. Remember the 26th of August, because why was I shorting Bitcoin recently? By the way, why was I shorting Bitcoin recently? It was because of my remembering what happened on the 26th of the pump and gave it all back, and obviously in the end led to that dump. But yeah, that's what I just wanted to mention there. Okay, so we obviously saw that quick move to the upside, and then in the end, look how perfect. So although it didn't happen here or here, what did we have coming in at this point? We did have that midpoint of the channel support perfectly, resistance, high upper wick. Just real perfect, isn't it? It really is. Okay, so we can then see the middle of the channel coming in here perfectly, back up to the top, resistance, support, resistance, coming down to the bottom of our channel, back up for resistance, back up for support, resistance, higher low, high upper wick. And if you have a good memory, then you will know that this picture was in fact this example here. Okay, so a bigger view. Again, this was all live when I was doing this, but this was where I was entering the short, and shortly after, literally within the an hour or two, we dropped down to around 9,300. So this channel was absolutely perfect, and you can start to see now how you can get those early signs from back on the 24th, and then you have a whole week nearly of trading within that channel. Okay, and it's I said this earlier to everyone, I don't like to say trading's easy, because one, it can come across as very you have to remember, I've been doing it a long time. I don't want to say it's easy, but if you start really putting in like hours and really practicing, then you start to like recognize these early, and then you start to get the an edge basically on the competition, and really you are trading against other people, so you do want to win. And anyway, so yeah, we can just see how that early sign of it forming did in fact form absolutely perfectly. Well, I want to say again, there's nothing perfect in trading. We did see deviations from the low and deviations from the high, but nevertheless, coming back in, you could take your longs, coming back in, taking your shorts, and you can see coming back in, back testing, move up, coming back in, back testing here, move up, coming back in, back testing, move down. Okay, so it's like deviations from the range, but nevertheless, overall you are very contained within this price. Okay, and that was obviously from a daily resistance to a daily support, really gave you a heads up that you could start to see a range here. Okay. So moving on to number 17. So this is obviously looking at our partial rises and partial declines. So although here we've not got a channel, it's all part and parcel of when you're trading any sort of patterns. So basically a partial rise or a partial decline is just giving you an idea that let's say, for example, this was a sideways channel, although we're obviously not looking at a channel here. Let's just say we were looking at a sideways channel. If you do a partial rise or a partial decline, so this is obviously a partial decline, that would be giving you an idea that it's starting to become bullish. If price isn't coming down to the bottom of your range, then you could have it's not guaranteed, because you could just come back up to the top and then come back down. So you do want to remember it's not a long until you then close above the channel really, or at least take out a high. Okay, so where would you be saying here? Or that would be our high, wouldn't it? So you could say, and like really wait if you wanted to, that instead of backtesting here, you want to see the high taken out, and then that would be a long entry. Okay, so you'd have to wait a little bit, because this is still a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high even here. So you do want to see that take out a high. Basically, for a little bit of extra confirmation. But yeah, here partial declines and partial rises are early signs that that you could be breaking out of a range to the up or downside. Okay, so if you start to see price in a range and it doesn't come down to the bottom and only retraces slightly, and then you're all the way back up to the top again, well, you would say bulls are in control. There's more demand coming in at higher prices, which obviously is how you push a market up. So yeah, this is one way of having a little inkling that price could potentially not be breaking to the downside. If you see a partial decline, then you would be looking for a breakup. And the same, if this didn't reach the top of the parallel, then you would be saying, okay, we've seen weakness coming into the market here potentially. We've not made it to the top of the channel. We'll be looking then for this to break down, or you would favor a breakdown, or would wait for the confirmation, but you could have favorable odds, I guess, of that trade. Okay. So moving on. Moving on here. So what did I want to... 1 second, please. Oh, hope no one saw that. So here, this is... Okay, so this is our daily range, by the way, on Bitcoin. And this was just a little overview that I wanted to do. So here we can see, of again, just like giving an outline of these channels. So here we see old resistance. It's all really about support and resistances. But here we see old resistance flip to support. Okay, and this is a question that I also asked a lot of. How are we really looking for where to take the top of the channel, where the bottom? So I would always, if I just had a blank chart, if we didn't see this on the left here, I would draw my channel like this. Okay, so we are, for the sake of example, imagining this isn't here a second, okay? And I would take my channel from the top candle close to the bottom candle closes here, and my channel would run like that. So if I couldn't see this price action here, and I was just looking at this other range, I'd go from the candle close to the candle close, okay? And then you can see here, actually, it does go quite nicely, okay? Because we don't touch the bottom of this range again, by the way. But yeah, I would generally be looking at the top of the channel is marked by the highest candle close, and not just a candle close. You do want to see it respected. So if we just had a candle close here, but then it never touched, you never got a touch here, then I probably just wouldn't be classing this as a channel. It's just a different type of pattern. You don't always have channels, but yeah, you want to see a candle close really, and then a respect of that. So that's giving you a hint of it, of a range bound. And the reason why I haven't taken the candle close from the candle closes here, although arguably it's better to be honest, but it's because we had a resistance that flipped to support and support again perfectly. So we can say the clear demand is coming in at 9,100, and there's a clear a clear supply coming in at around 13,000 more or less. Okay, so then we're range bound within 9,000 to 13,000, trying to work out what's a fair price at the moment. So yeah, that's basically how we kind of decipher in a range. You're either looking for a really, this is really nice SR flip on Bitcoin, okay, or you're looking for candle closes. And generally we are looking at, especially on sideways ranges, you'll see me take it from the wicks a lot. And I would say do both. So take it using wicks, okay, and then take it using closes and see what looks nicer. So okay, so it's not a hard rule. You don't always have to go from wicks, okay. So you would just see what looks best. And here, if you're going from a wick here, it doesn't make sense. Okay, the higher it'll move. So the candle close, respect, okay, and then this is a deviation. That's a deviation, isn't it? We haven't deviated from the bottom side. Okay, so basically I'll just read through this. Okay, so old resistance flip to support to create the bottom of the channel. Top of the channel is marked by the highest candle close here, and then respect is giving us the confirmation we're in a range. Okay, so trade would be taken from the bottom of the range, and you'd be looking for the midpoint because this is a daily range. You would long here, and you would be closing out at the midpoint really because it's a big range. This is a big move from 9,100 up to about 11,000. That's a very big move. You wouldn't be longing 9,000 and aiming really for 13k. You would be looking at the middle, and then do you break above it, then you could aim for the top. Okay, so yeah, on a big range like this, I wouldn't be aiming for the top. I would aim for the middle and then reassess the trade. Maybe you go straight through like you do here, and then in this time I'd be thinking, okay, yeah, we can aim up for 13k for example, but it's taking it one step at a time. So as price closes above the midpoint, a long trade would be taken. So you would take the long here. Obviously, we know it never hit, but you would still take the long up to midpoint. What do we actually see here? Well, you obviously had that really nice trend line in the end, which has rejected. You also had a 618 coming in here, so you had a lot of reason to be rejected here. So this is when you have to use other technical analysis with it. Like there was definitely a reason to be rejected here. You had trend line resistance and Fibonacci resistance, golden pocket, all coming together. So there, and the way the move was so extended, you always have to be very cautious of a straight up move like this. So yeah, that was for me a nice trade. But here we can see a partial rise. So when you get the partial rise, I think in the end here you have come down to the candle closes. So in the end you come down to the candle close. You don't touch 9-1 again. Okay, so here you have a partial rise. So with that partial rise, it's confirmed when you close back above the middle. So you would be closing out of your trade either at the breakdown. You'd basically break even trade as you move up here. You'd either trail your stops into profits or just keep your trade at break even. You wouldn't be looking for a loss at this point after reaching like the middle of this channel again. You would be moving stops to break even. You wouldn't take a loss on this trade, but nevertheless, you obviously get stopped out. Okay, so partial rise is confirmed when you break back into the middle of the lower range or the lower half of the range. Okay, so that's when we'd be saying, yeah, this is a confirmed higher or partial rise when you're back down here. Okay, you wouldn't be obviously looking for positions when you've seen that partial rise. Okay, so after the partial rise, okay, a short can be taken with a close below the midpoint and aim for the range low. So after we've seen a partial rise and you've come back and you've back tested it, you'd look again for a short back down to the bottom, because after this partial rise you'd expect this low to come, and again you don't actually hit the low. But what do you do? What do you see? Some reasons why you don't hit the low again here. Obviously, you're seeing a few different things like here, and obviously in the end you come down. You do come down. Don't hit the exact bottom, and we've done something like this now. So yeah, this is obviously just a few signs of things I'd be looking out for, partial rises. So this is really, so what is this really indicative of? This is so normal of a really big consolidation range. If you start to see partial rises and partial declines, well, what's happening here? Okay, so what is happening is price is really constricting, isn't it? So it's kind of constricting in. If you're seeing partial rises, partial declines, well, price is just getting closer and closer to an apex before you get a larger break. But yeah, this is obviously not so much a sideways channel anymore. It's more of a triangle pattern, I would say. But in the time we were looking at this, and it did break down, by the way. So we did come down to around 9,300 in the end. So about $200 from the bottom of the channel, but you did see those candle closes and they were hit. So yeah, this is where we could say really the best channel. In fact, is maybe not free from this SR flip, but this close. Okay, because we did move down and touch that close and get a reaction to the upside. Okay, so there's a little bit of discretion to be had here. That maybe now the range of low is from these candle closes. Okay, because you see exactly the candle highs here and the candle lows here. That's a nice confluence as well. Okay, but moving on. Okay, so this is what I love about channels, by the way. So this is one of my favorite things about channels, and you will notice that in my charts that I run through on daily basis sort of thing, that I don't ever leave the channels on. So if you look here on the daily, the reason, so this is, I just want to explain why you don't see what I'm about to say, because I have another TradingView account where I will never ever delete a channel, okay, when I've had it on my chart, unless it's getting too messy and it's just not anymore respected, then I'd obviously remove it because it would be cluttering my chart. But the reason why my charts are always clean is because I'm obviously doing like daily lessons with people or just like running through different TA. I'm always just deleting everything. But generally, if you're on your own TradingView, you wouldn't keep deleting everything, okay? But the reason why my charts are always deleted is just because there's always a question coming in or something like this, and I'll have to delete everything. So this is why it's best to have a TradingView account where you're not always deleting things, just to clear things up, because I'm about to say never delete things basically. So channels, when broken, always should be left on the chart, okay, until you can see they're not being respected, okay, because an old channel will be broken and come back as a new channel, okay. But I just want to show you before, just keep that in mind while I talk you through this here. So here we had a sideways channel, okay, so this is a sideways channel that had formed. You broke out of that sideways channel, okay, so sideways channel broken to the upside. Okay, so sideways channel is formed after a rise in price. So if you rise and then consolidate in a range, you do expect continuation to the upside, because of the continuation pattern. So if you come up into a channel, you expect it to go sideways and continue up. So sideways range is formed after a rise in price. Thus, one could favor trading longs in the range, though I would personally trade long, short, long, short, long, short, long. Okay, but you could favor just longing, taking profits, longing, taking profits, longing. If you don't want to short this, then you don't have to, because you would favor a breakup, okay. But nevertheless, then what happens here? So your channel, you see how perfect this is, by the way. Like, channel here formed, you come up and you form a high. Where do you go from the high? You went from a high, a rejection, you come back in exactly into the old channel, and this is why you wouldn't remove it. So you come back into the old channel, the exact low of your old channel, and you people following me would know I traded it well. But I keep doing that. Here we obviously come back into the low of this channel. Okay, low of the channel. So this is just an example of old, previous, smaller term time frame channel acts as a support as price dips back into it. Okay, so then we go from low to high to a low of the old channel here. And then you can see up to, in the end, around a midpoint, an SR flip here, back down to the low. So what's this? A partial rise. You come back to the low and find support. And this is where we get our channel. So you see here, I'm taking it from the candle close to the candle close, okay? So not these wicks, not these wicks. I'm going from close to close, okay? And then what do we have? From the close, we come up to the top, okay? So short top of the range. As this is a smaller range, I would trade from side to side, e.g. short the top, take profits in the middle, and ultimately aim for the bottom, because it's a 1 hour chart, okay? So we're going from top, take profits, close, instead of, if this was a daily chart, would be aiming for the middle. But because it's a smaller range, day traders, let's say, middle, take profits, bottom. Okay, so long from the bottom of the range, taking profits in the middle and up to the top. So what do we do here? Bottom, middle, retracement, top, retracement, high. What do you see here? An SR flip, so resistance flip to support, moving up again. So price gets a candle close outside of the range. Remembering, again, we were expecting this to break up here because it went from the upwards movement, sideways, up. So again, what we're doing here, upwards movement, sideways, favor and up. Okay, so price gets a candle close outside of the range. Here we get a close outside of the range, and you will see this perfectly, by the way, absolutely perfectly on a lower term time frame, and you can tell here by the wick. But you did in fact close above, back test to the dollar, literally, and then you got expansion to the upside again. So this is a move, and this is where you expanded to 13, the high of the move, so about the high 13k. Okay, so this was the expansion that led you there. You basically pretty easy got in a trade from closing outside the channel, back testing it perfectly, and then it expands obviously upwards there. So here price gets a candle close outside the range and then back test the channel range, resistance as support for another impulse wave upwards, a perfectly traded channel. So what could you say here, okay, for a little bit of extra confirmation? If you don't want to long the back test, okay, you could have seen the high, back test, not long the back test until you take out the high of that candle. So here you have the high of the candle, so you back test and then you could just long here, really. Okay, you could long there, and then, or in the end you get a bit lucky. This doesn't always happen, but in the end you even back test that high and then move up. So you don't always, this is not always, I would be very cautious. This would be the entry, but here you get very lucky, getting another potential compounded trade, so you could even add to your long here. That would be an add to a long, and then you expand again. But you get pretty lucky with the people getting that opportunity of a 9.5 back test, like so perfect. So yeah, that's obviously sideways ranges where you get an old channel, where mainly we were looking here at an old channel flipping into support, again, and then you trade. And this is really, really perfect, by the way. So remember this channel. This was a perfectly traded channel, and then look how it come back in. So this is the channel that we were just reviewing in this slide. So this is the channel. What happened so perfectly here? Price obviously broke up from 9.5 and went all the way up to your high 13,000s. And what did it do? It consolidated, but absolutely perfectly. This is why you do not remove a channel. The old channel that was formed here, look where price retraced to. From the very high, okay, it retraced down to your middle of your parallel channel. Just absolutely perfect. So here you can see the sideways channel. Okay, the sideways channel prior to the consolidation that led to the big move to the upside, and it really did. Okay, it led to that big move to the upside. And then where you come down, price moved away. So obviously this is all moving away, but price eventually, okay, came back, okay, into, I want to start saying, okay, price has moved away, but then, but away from the, price has moved away from the channel resistance, but when price retraces, it can find support from an old channel. So our old channel, price moves away, but eventually it takes its time, but it does eventually come back into it and back tests. Here, the midpoint, you could have looked for the low or the high, but around this region. Obviously here you find it at the midpoint. What do you see here? Really, really nice. Really nice. You see a move down, a bullish engulfing candle. So here you'd be looking to take your long after that bullish engulfing. You get very lucky then again with a long lower wick. Okay, so this would be a buy signal, this bullish engulfing, or this long lower wick. Okay, another bullish sign. But look where you bounce here. You obviously bounce off the top of the channel. So then you've seen a low, high, higher, low, and then you're moving on. Where do you move up to? So let's just highlight this for the sake. What do you do? You literally move up, take that high, take the high here. Okay, and yeah, then you come back down. Okay, where do you come back down to? You come back down to the top of the channel. Support, support, support. Long lower wick. Okay, price again finds support on the midpoint of the old parallel channel, the exact midpoint here. And then again, you see support, support, long lower wick, and then you see support, 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 holding, and then you start going low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, and then you expand again to the upside. Okay, so this is why you don't remove a channel from your chart, basically, because these old channels, okay, you might think, you might forget about them after 2 weeks, but you'll be surprised how often they come back into the market, especially the sideways channels. Okay, so I'd say sideways channels are more, but you know, you still will see, you know, sloping channels, but they're not as respected. So these sideways ones are perfect. Okay, especially if it's a longer range. So if this was like a daily range, although this was only an hourly one, but if it was a big daily one, then it would be more relevant. Okay, so just remember that too. A higher time frame. You know, if you have a 1 minute channel, okay, and you're trading it for 10 minutes in the day, then you're not really going to expect it to be respected again. You know, but if it is something here appearing, for instance, on the 4 hour, then you know it's clearly going to most likely be coming back into action again. So just remember, the higher the time frame, the more respected and all that. But yeah, that's obviously our channel here. So moving on to the next slide I've done for you all. So here, this is okay. So this is an example of when to, you know, be expecting a move down or move up. So here we have an upward sloping channel. It's not so at the first point it was really perfect, and I just wanted to add this in because this was recent price action that we had on Bitcoin. Okay, and here it was obviously, so this was from the move of that 10,200 down to 10.3. So this was that move down. Okay, and it's obviously was very, very choppy. So as we moved down here to the low 9,000s, it was pretty choppy. It was yeah, I would say it was one of the hardest trading places, okay, because it was just so choppy. It really was. I was finding it difficult as well, okay, because it was nice, but then we started seeing these deviations. It just adds a lot of you know, it's not the best trading environment. I would just literally trade something else, but here we go from low to high to low to high, and then it becomes very choppy. And what we can see here is channel support up to the midpoint, partial rise. You come back down to support, back up to the midpoint. Like this section is perfect, but then you drop down here. You drop down, you do take out some lows, but you drop down, and then you start finding resistance on old channel support, flipping then to resistance. So you're in conflicted minds, aren't you? You're thinking, okay, we're grinding up here, but we are grinding up against support flipping to resistance. So it's a very difficult long to take, I would say. Like it is. I'd be very cautious along in this, or in fact I probably wouldn't long it. Okay, so here what we see is support, okay, because it's a flip of the trend line, channel, whatever you want to call it here, like support when lost, flip to resistance, but grinds along the bottom. It is not a buy. You would not be buying this touch, this touch, this touch, this touch, okay? This touch, obviously, you see a high wick and rejection, but you do, in fact, move down. You start going lower, higher, higher, low. And what were we waiting for? Well, this is obviously what we were seeing. These candle closes, okay? Or let's just draw that a little bit better. You know, you eventually get above it, okay, with a bit of bullish market structure. And then what do you do back here? You then do get back into the range, okay? So price closes back inside, and on the 5-minute time frame, gave a perfect retest. So here, okay, this was on the 15-minute chart, but on the 5-minute, you did also see close back inside, drop down, and it did come up to the midpoint of the channel. Okay, and then, you know, you could have just missed this trade, it doesn't matter, midpoint, and then you are closing back inside the channel. And as you all know, this ran up to 10,000, mid 10,000s. Okay, so mid 10,000s you ran up to here. High 10,000s, yeah, high 10,000s, 10,968. If my memory serves me correctly. But we saw expansion to the upside here. But this channel was very, very, very choppy. So this is a tip that I'm going to give you all. Although, yes, we were back inside the channel. What gave me the signs, or what really helped me decipher to go into this day trading long? Okay, so although I was still in a short, at this point from an overall, obviously from that 10,200, I was still in that short, trading my stops. But I was hesitant to close out on my short at this point, because price wasn't proving to me on a swing trade perspective to give me a reason to close out at this point. Okay, because it was looking very bear flaggish. Okay, so you're just expecting this to come up here and move down again. What helped me take that day trading long? It was flipping this into a line chart, okay? And this is sometimes where you're going to see where this is obviously so crazy hard to trade. Like, it's pretty hard to trade, okay? So what can you do when you're just seeing long lower wicks, long high upper wicks, you know, bit choppy price action? Flipping to the line chart is going to be really helpful. And this was one, literally, again, you can see it was a live trade that we took. Because what did we do to find that bullish bias? Okay, reason to be looking for a long. Flipped it to the line chart, and what we can see, it was perfectly channeled. It did go from low to high to low to high to partial decline to break out of the channel to back testing the channel. Okay, and then obviously what we saw from that was breakout, back test, and it did expand heavily to the upside. And this is what you're going to find, that flipping to a line chart can be very, very helpful, okay? And a lot of the time in the day, I will flip to the line chart because it does block out a lot of, only if it's choppy, really. I wouldn't generally do it unless I'm seeing real chop action. And then flipping to this line chart is very beneficial, okay? Where sometimes it won't add any extra help. And if it doesn't add any extra help, then you would just say, well, I'm not going to trade. If I have no edge as a trader, I'm not just going to trade to trade. I only want to trade if the odds are in my favor. But here what we can see is low, low, high, partial decline, back up to the top, breaking out those tops, back testing, and then you obviously got that expansion to the upside. So that was expansion straight through. And this was obviously in a short squeeze quite scenario where you expanded so up very quickly. Okay, so you went through all resistance very, very quickly because people trying to jump in shorts or people trying to short the exact bottom, never works out. People shorting down here, clueless, because you don't do that. But they, in the end, it got a short squeeze and price ran up pretty heavily, and in the end gave another short. But that was just a nice, I wanted to add in here of use the line chart if you are finding ranges choppy. This is a good way of getting some clarification, or just a way of managing that chop, essentially. So moving on. Oh, this is another example. So this was another example from, so this was yesterday's trade, and I'm going to cover this all for you in a second. It was so perfect. So perfect. And like, these are calls that I do in the group, before it's all actually happened, and now we're looking at it in hindsight. But I'm trading this live, like literally for everyone to see. But here we're going from high to low to high to low to high to low to high. Okay, and what we can see here is it's a little bit choppy, isn't it, on the candlestick chart? But when you come over to the line chart, it really was clear as day. High, low. So what do you see here? Take out the highs. Take out the highs to get your high to low to partial rise to lower high to low, lower low, lower high, lower high, lower high, fall off a cliff. Okay, or fall off a cliff weekend down to about 9,800. But you were using this channel yesterday, and this is why I was in a short. or actually, I want to cover this in a few minutes, that trade, because it was perfect, and I told everyone I'd cover it today. So I will cover this in a second in more detail. But this was a question that I really wanted to cover. Okay, of actually, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna save that one. Actually, I want to cover this trade. I really want to cover this trade because this is going to be really beneficial. Okay, well, actually, I'll do the slide first. I was going to do the other way around, but we'll do the slide first of when to adjust or not to adjust a trade of a break. Okay, or a break of a channel. Okay, so when to or not to adjust a channel after a break. So what we can see here is a break and a break. Are we moving our channel upwards here after the break? Okay, so this is what I want you to think. So price closes outside of the channel here, but I would not be longing the close, okay, outside of the channel until it makes a higher high. So what can we say here is a pivotal high, and it's also a pivotal sideways level, isn't it? So we can also see it's a pivotal sideways level on this region. Okay, so until price moves up here is not until I would take my long at this point. Okay, just reason number one. And if price did do that, then we could leave the channel as is and say, yeah, that was a break. Okay, but closing outside of the channel is not considered bullish. Just because you close outside of the channel, it's not really bullish until you take the last high. Okay, and this could just be the last high of the move, this high even. It could literally just be this high, really. This is where a little bit of discretion is coming in. There's not a hard rule of which high you're looking at, but obviously the clearest high is up here. But then you are missing too much of the move, I would say. If this was, but if I'd just look for the last high, okay, which is either going to be this one because of the price action horizontally, or this one being the last high of this drop down, okay. So it's a little bit of discretion trading, but here we could see 1, 2, 3 highs. I would say this is going to be your most important one. So here you wouldn't really be bullish just because you close outside of the channel. It's not really bullish until unless you backtest and then take the high. Backtesting and just going down like this, like it done, is obviously not bullish. So what do we see here? It broke out of the channel. Okay, so this is why. Okay, so when to adjust. So if you had broke out of the channel, backtested, move up, taken the high, leave the channel as it is, because that is then a bullish break from the channel, isn't it? If you break out the channel, sort of backtest or break out the channel and take a new high, then it's obviously bullish. Okay, so what do you see here again? So we broke out the channel here. We're breaking out the channel, aren't we? But what did we not do? Price did not take the high. So although you broke out the channel, it's not bullish. It is not bullish unless you do that, unless you take out the last high, or you come and backtest, hold, and then you take out that high. Okay, so you want to see highs taken. If you just come down, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower, it doesn't matter if you're outside the channel if you can't even take a high. So this is what happened. Price broke out the channel, and this is when you do adjust it. So I am adjusting my channel when I can clearly see that a new high has formed really nicely and you're back inside. Okay, so as seen here, price closed outside of the channel obviously here, but if it had back tested and moved up, I would have left the channel as it is. Why have I adjusted the channel? Because we obviously saw then a rejection and back inside in a series here of lower high, lower high, lower high on this red, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low. Okay, so there is zero bullish. Okay, for it to be bullish break outside the channel, you want to see follow through. What's follow through? It's moving up and taking those highs. Okay, so when price closes back inside the channel lines, we can adjust. Okay, so once we've seen this closing back inside, which would be the original channel, once we've seen price close back inside, move those channel lines up. Okay, and you will see that this yesterday did then in fact still give a perfect top resistance. Okay, so when price closes back inside the channel, we can adjust the channel to fit the new boundary as shown. Okay, thus we are only adjusting channel lines if the channel is broken with no higher highs and bearishly comes back inside. Okay, so that's when we're adjusting it. Okay, so I hope that cleared up that as well. So that is it for the part 2, and we still have got part 3, by the way, which is next week. So there's even more to cover. Like, there is so much more to cover. So this is why I'm debating part 3 and part 4, but at least part 3 next week, where there's even more to learn on this, because we're just getting started. It's so good. But yeah, part 3 is going to be next week, but that's it for part 2 of the channels. And now I would like to go through a few examples. Really, I would just like to cover my trade from yesterday, why this was so nice. Then obviously today, again, we also had a really perfect trade. So I'm still in a long, by the way. So I'm in a long from here. So well, let's say firstly, I'll explain why I'm in that long. Okay, because we saw here parallel, we saw 618. Okay, so 618, and also the fact there was the bottom of this channel lining up with the 618. So I'm in a long. didn't get the very low, and this is what people like stress about. Like, I don't want to get the exact low, so I'm in a long 4.65, and although I didn't get in at the exact bottom, and I could have, but never mind. I literally don't care at this point. Profit's profit. But yeah. So what have we seen here actually? Also, this is pretty interesting. So during the stream now, we have taken that high. Isn't this typical? Like, each one of these is a sculpt, by the way. This is like now I'd need to take profit on that, because that's obviously a reason to be taking profits. But I want to cover this trade yesterday, and this was obviously one that I posted in the group, and it was very, very transparent. I was in the short, and we were trading this whole channel the whole day. So what can we see here? What can we see? So this for me was a original entry, and this is, by the way, covering because I said to the champions group that I will cover this trade in the stream, because there were people were just amazed by how good it was, basically. But it was literally really, really, very good. So what did we see here? So I entered into position at 10:30 at night. Okay, so this is 10:30 at night. I was entering into a short while price was down here at around 10.2. Okay, so what am I looking for here? Okay, so what was I looking for? Why did I enter? 10,383 was my exact entry, wasn't it? So what made me want to enter into a short, thinking price is going to come up? So why was I thinking price is coming up here while we're sat at 10,200? What's the average trader doing at 10,200 after this move down? Oh, they're shorting at the bottom here. You can be fairly safe. They're shorting, and they don't think of shorting on moves up. Newer traders. I don't want to be mean, by the way, but it's true. Like, newer traders, they'll short when something goes down, and they'll long when something goes up, and that's not what you want to be doing. Okay, we short when things go up, and we long when things go down. But the reason why I was happily placing my shorts here, okay, was basically I was expecting a move up. What did we have on this move up? We had the highs here. All I wanted to see when I was placing my shorts down here, I was placing 10,383 because all I wanted to see was a move up, take the high, and reject. Okay, and obviously me waking up at price down here, it done exactly that overnight. We did get move up, we saw the rejection, we did see a low, and luckily I was asleep during this movement, so I didn't even have to worry about it. But we did see a rejection, move down, and then a series of more rejections, and then in the end moving down. What was confluence of a reason why I entered that position at that price? Where if we take our fibs here from high to low, okay, we also had coming in around here from the 0.5 to the 618. My stop loss was very simply, okay, using this high. Okay, so that's where I wanted to run these highs, for the liquidity, but not the overall. This was my invalidation for a stop loss, because if I'm asleep, I don't want to be waking up and seeing prices 20k. Okay, I want to have an invalidation still, and so this was one for me, shorting these highs, taking that liquidity, and then push it to the downside, and that's exactly what it did. Waking up. Okay, so I'm waking up around here, adding to my short as I wake up and see that we had then formed our parallel channel. So from high to low to lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, I managed to wake up here and get into a short, or add to my short, to in the end play that nice breakdown. But here we go. Short, and this is where there was some confusion of whether we were adjusting our channel here, and you can see the notes that I've made on this section. But what we can see here is that was an important high, series of lower highs here, so we can in fact adjust that channel, can't we? We can adjust that channel, and you can still see it trades very nicely from high to low to partial rise, partial rise, partial rise. So this is bearish, isn't it? If you're just making lower high, lower high, lower high, lower, it's bearish. Like, really clearly downtrending. So here we are going down, 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 down. This could have been potentially, we would be looking at a breakout side back test, but because you just go lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, there's nothing bullish there, is there? So we can then, as price comes back into the range here, so it's at the very end, but you come back in, you can move that channel down, and then what you will see is obviously price is coming down. This is where you need to go on a lower term time frame to really see this. But you start to see price coming back inside here. Okay, no buyers show up at the bottom wick. Obviously, we'd already seen the three valleys, 1, 2, 3 reaction. Okay, so that's another bullish pattern here. It's all bringing it all together. So that was the reason of longing. But you see three lower wicks rise. Where do you rise up to? That trend line resistance, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, back inside, and you flush down. Where did we find support today? Today's trading has just again been perfect. Like, people, I don't know, like, literally, this is so good. What did we do? We literally went from the bottom here to the top. Okay, where are we closing shorts all the time? You're not getting greedy and aiming for 9.2. You are closing your short at a golden pocket. What did we do? hit the exact bottom of the golden pocket, which is also a psychological number, 9,900 here, and we saw a very nice reaction overnight, okay, where we then came from golden pocket up to the highs here of 10,280. I'm not going to lie, that's a hard trade to take, okay, getting in a short up here, that's a hard one, but you know, in hindsight it's pretty easy, but luckily I was asleep during this, so I didn't manage to trade the top of this one for once. But here we did see a move up, okay, but it was from that golden pocket, okay. And then today was two other trades that I want to show for you all here, because again it was just so literally perfect. So what do we see here? So this was then day trading today. So then we saw, okay, so this was my trades this morning. So I woke up and price was at 10k. I opened a short as I woke up, and all I aimed for was the low. Okay, like we've seen, like today I've already given examples. On Sunday's Champions live stream, we went through it a lot as well. What am I doing all the time? Aiming for this liquidity, and it is literally working so well. So what did I do? So I got it a bit late, but shorted 10k down to the lows, where I went into a long. I've traded this so perfectly, went into a long, okay, and what are we aiming up for here? This was just absolutely to the dollar perfect long, okay, up to the golden pocket. Just look how perfect it is. You hit it, by the way, okay, if we just move this sideways, hit it to the exact dollar here, okay, from high to low. If I line that up perfectly, because it was to the dollar, 6.5 perfectly, absolutely perfect. So that's the long traders. Even if you got into the long late, you see this long lower wick again through liquidity. You know, you're longing here, okay, up to the golden pocket. And as I said this morning, long up to golden pocket. What do? We hit the golden pocket. That's then a short. And what are we playing the short to? Okay, remove that, the short down from low to high here. What did we get? Golden pocket. Okay, so then you have that golden pocket here, golden pocket here. That is a confluence of fibs. Enter a long. This is the long I'm still in now from golden pocket. Okay, so that is just absolutely perfect. And then again, that's so, you know, few trades taken today. And then we also had today going on this channel here, didn't we? Before I forget about the channel, we also had for extra confluence along the lines of, along the lines of looking at this was the channel, okay. So we are, you know, again, not perfect, but we had along the lines of this helping structure the market from high to low to high to low, partial rise, lower high, drop down to the golden pocket where we're closing the shorts in profit, entering the long, okay. And now in the end you're a little bit choppy. Before I started this video, I trailed my stop loss below these lows, okay, so my stop loss is set in profits. So, you know, at the end it's been a nice day, and this is why I love trading. It's literally so nice. So yeah, that's today's stream. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Does anybody have any questions? I will stay around for 10 minutes or so to answer any questions that people have. Yeah, any questions? Dan, could we get a little overview of the present market? Loved the call the other day. You rock. Oh, thank you so much. Like, yeah, so for an overview of Bitcoin right now, like all I would say is we are reaching the apex here. So I'm expecting a break to come this month. I really am. Tomorrow, let's just be aware, Binance is kicking out US customers tomorrow. There's likely maybe more on altcoins, but I am expecting some major movement, or not necessarily major, but I'm expecting movement tomorrow, being the day Binance is kicking out US customers. Okay, but Backed is obviously coming the 26th of September, 23rd, 26th of September. Okay, so I'm expecting this pattern to break this month, really, because there's a lot of confluence of why it should break this month. So I am expecting a break this month to come. That's either going to give us our bullish break or our bearish break, obviously. I am also really aware that we could fake out of this, okay? So, you know, it would be perfect to kind of come up to this high. Everybody turns extremely bullish and then kind of fall back down. You know, it would be perfect. There's the same here, you know, could also happen. But although I'm aware that we could get those, you know, those sort of fake outs, I would still trade it for what it is. We also have what is really nice above here, the golden pocket. All I'm saying is I'm expecting a break to come this month, but until that break comes, it's really, really choppy. Okay, so we are just contracting in. Okay, we are really contracting into the apex here. I personally am only day trading, so I'm only day trading at this point. Don't get me wrong, I love to swing trades when we're in a trending market like this. These are the easiest swing trades. Okay, like this is the easiest swing trades. But when you're consolidating like this, and especially as you come closer and closer, like you can swing trade these moves again. But as you come come in closer and closer to the apex here, you're not looking for swing trades because it could essentially break 50-50 up or down. So you want to wait for that confirmation before you get your, the probabilities on your side now. So here I'm just day trading the moves. Like today I've done, I've not actually even lost a trade, but here I don't want to concentrate on that. I hate saying these sort of things, but here we're just like day trading. Okay, so it's more of a day trader's range, if I'm honest, because it is not high probabilities on a swing trade right now. So I am expecting this to tighten up even more. Okay, so a little bit more sideways. So for like an overview of the market at present, I'm just expecting more choppy ranges, just coming down for liquidity grabs all the time. It's just real choppy. You don't get me wrong, I like trading it, but a lot of people lose money on this if they don't know what they're doing. But yeah, I'm still expecting more chop before an overall break up or down, and I wouldn't say what way this is going to break up or down. I would wait for that confirmation, or at least wait for some probabilities. And like I said, I wait for the market to show its hand to me, not trying to second guess the market. Okay, so you can make money on the short term without knowing where it's going on the long term. Like I can say, I don't know where this is going up or down on the long term, and I will day trade this until I have a reasonable way of telling you, yeah, I believe now this is going up or this is going down. Okay, but sat here, what are we even in? We're in the middle of this range, so you're correcting this move at the moment. So there's no point speculating, in my opinion, whether it's waking up or down. I will prefer to give it another week potentially. Who knows? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Break of this pattern, and then we go high probabilities aggressively into trades. Until then, I'll be more than happily day trading this, and day trading means I have zero bias. I can make money going up, I can make money going down, I don't care. But I'm patiently day trading this only, or scalp trading this, until we overall break the pattern. Not necessarily the pattern, just because I'm aware of the fake outs that could occur. Really, I'm waiting for that sort of break above the highs, and then sort of a break up like from here. And then, as you all know from that sideways channel that we also had, so if it does, we can't forget this one, just because we could still go into it. We could also just see this as a sideways sort of channel now as well. Okay, and this was obviously then taken here originally. So you obviously have the midpoint coming in, so you then could trade it up to the highs. Okay, and then even from the highs, you could come back down to the low. But obviously a bearish break to the downside is bearish, but to the upside, it's not necessarily extremely bullish until you break up the overall high, just because you could still see this, breaking about out of this is obviously bullish, but you could still really see that occurring, or I guess even that, but less likely, but still a possibility. It's too early to say, it really is. So yeah, I'll just keep day trading this until a bigger break comes. Would you mark the last high? Would you mark the last high on the wick? Which one are you on about? Last high. So like this high, yeah, I would mark that a high, because that's still a relevant level for me. I would like keep an eye on the candle close. So that close, it depends on the time frame you're looking at. Here on the 15, 10,185. Obviously the high is important because that's visible on every time frame. 10,281. Yeah, you'd mark highs. Yeah, I would mark highs even if it's on a wick. I hope that was your question. If not, then write it again. Can you have a look at XRP, please? I don't generally take requests, but I will quickly take a look at XRP. It's not looking great. So here we will really quickly see it's coming down to daily. Basically, if you close below this, then it's bearish down to around this level. Okay, so you are on support. This is obviously the BitMEX chart. If we look at BTC. So I originally tried to long this, by the way. I did try and long here, and then what we saw in the end was I was expecting a rejection. So I did say I was expecting a rejection at 0.5, but I did want to see this back test and hold. And what we've done, in fact, is seal the rejection as expected, but instead of back testing and holding and moving up, we have in fact actually now lost that. So it's not as bullish as I was expecting, if I'm honest. Okay, we still, though, as just shown, do have that support here. So the last hope for XRP, my opinion, would be that. Okay, so we'd want to see a move down and then back above. Okay, that would be my last hope. If not, then we'd be moving down to around 2.4 or the lows. Okay, so I was in a long on this, and I did take a small loss on XRP. Serves me right for trading XRP, I guess. But yeah, I longed it from here and took off at a 0.5. But I was not expecting it to just fall over like it has. And obviously BTC with its moves hasn't helped. But yeah, XRP, nah. Last sort of hope for me would be this low. And if it closes below that, then yeah. I mean, I'm not in the trade anymore. But yeah, I'd get back in if it done that. Took the low and managed to reclaim about 2,550, let's just say. Okay, so XRP on the short term, not great unless you can get some reactions coming in here. It's kind of not great. Um, think alts, if any, might have a smaller pump. The selling should be priced in. People have known for so long. In my opinion, I don't think, obviously I can't say, so it's very, I can't say whether there's going to be a pump or not tomorrow. In my opinion, no. I don't think, obviously has been like 100% pumps on some of the coins on the last few days. You look at T-Fuel, you look at POE, T-Fuel was up 120%, and these are like exit scams. So people are, pumping to essentially get out. So you might see some tomorrow, but I do think it's very unlikely. I personally think the volume's dried up, and maybe you'll see some Coinbase alts doing well. Or, generally people are moving to Coinbase, different exchanges, but maybe alts will see a little bit of a reaction tomorrow. Obviously, honestly, I can't say whether they will or not, but personally, I don't believe so. I am not trading alts bullishly at the moment, okay? So I'm not expecting a nice reaction on the alts, but if they do react, then fair enough. I can move into some of those and sort of trade them a little bit higher up. I'm not against that, but yeah, as I see it, I don't think there's going to be a major pump tomorrow, just because, I'm just not seeing it at the moment. Okay, how do you trade BTC going into the apex of this triangle? Day trading it, just day trading the moves, each move as they come. So like today, I was like day trading from channels, trading up 618, different fibs, different Elliott wave counts, just day trading it, find a setup and day trade the setup. And like the longer term is hard to get a swing trade in here. So basically, how to trade the BTC going into the apex. Even if you're not comfortable day trading, do not trade it and just wait. You don't have to be always trading. Too many people lose money because they think they have to be trading this. You could be sat on the sidelines right now in no position and just wait. Okay, go trade another coin or go trade another market. But you don't have to be trading this apex. You could wait for this to break up. Or get some confirmation on a breakup or confirmation on a breakdown, and just wait. That's 2 weeks, 3 weeks of waiting essentially, or maybe it breaks tomorrow, but waiting until a break. But yeah, you don't have to be trading this if you're not comfortable. Like, I'm comfortable trading it, but I know not everybody has the time, etc., to do that. Hi Daniel, I'm new to Contenders. Do you have a guide somewhere to which exchanges you think are the best, to how to link TradingView to those exchanges to trade from the charts? If you do, thanks. So I don't have a guide. I can do the answers really quickly, and I can write something up. So I'm more than happy to write something up. But currently I don't. But the exchanges I trade from are basically BitMEX. Okay, used to trade more from Bitfinex and Binance, but actually not so much anymore. But BitMEX for me, BitMEX this is obviously crypto. I like BitMEX at the moment. Just finding it really nice. The prices are really real. I used to really like Binance, but since Binance volume dropped, okay, Binance has not been as nice for me to trade, and that's just because the volume is so low. So I prefer BitMEX. How to link TradingView to those exchanges? BitMEX is really easy, XBT USD. But yeah, mainly on BitMEX. Do you think Coinbase Pro alts will see an increase in volume due to it's really hard to speculate on whether they will increase or not tomorrow. I guess they should do, because people are going to be going onto that exchange. But I would say you're going to have to wait. There's no point in buying today thinking that tomorrow is going to lead to a pump on Binance coins or Coinbase coins. I would never trade like that. There's no point trading in hope. You want to actually see if there's a reaction tomorrow, and if there is, great, trade it long. But if there's not, then you don't want to trade on speculating basically, this alt is going to go up because it's a Coinbase alt. It just doesn't make sense in my opinion. Look at any altcoin this year, people speculate on these things, and basically if you trade an alt, if you trade it short, you make so much more money. So yeah, I'd be cautious, because historically speaking, altcoins are meant for shorting, I guess. But well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to sound like just wait for tomorrow and see what it brings. I wouldn't necessarily just long a altcoin thinking it's a Coinbase coin and it's going to pump tomorrow. We really do not know. So basically, low time frame channels can be seen as order blocks as a higher time frame. Essentially, yeah. So that's a good analogy. That essentially, yeah, you could view a parallel channel as an order block. That's a really good analogy. I like that one. Essentially, yeah, like this is, I guess, Champion's version of an order block. Yeah, a parallel channel, view that as an order block if you want, of an old parallel channel as you formed a sideways range would block into. Some people actually say I should write a trading book, but yeah, I like when you see that sideways channel, essentially you could view it as an order block, as you come back into it, expect reactions. Okay, Thank you for the stream. No worries at all. Like to say what the other Chris just said. Thanks for the stream. It is truly a highlight of my week. Just gets me excited. So happy to be with my extension of 12 months of the champion sub. Oh, no worries, Chris. Yeah, Chris, shout out Chris, done a 12-month sub. But yeah, obviously it's great. I personally really like it now that obviously the group is also all joining in on the trade. Not just the trades, but also learning. Doing the sort of the trades that I'm looking for, and I can just tell people are like learning from me and like following the way that I personally think it's really, really nice. Oh yeah, look at this for a prediction, by the way. So this was my prediction, obviously from the short. I was expecting it to come to that 618 and bounce. So this was my prediction that I gave to the group earlier. Come to the 618, close out the short long, and that was the prediction. And what happened? My prediction wasn't too bad then. Come down to the 618 and saw the reaction. And now obviously we're sat at 10,085. So we saw that nice reaction. But that's a prediction and a half, right? My bat trade yesterday was good. FET stopped out. Yeah, bat was pretty decent yesterday. So in the champions we traded bat. And bat obviously was from a retest of this channel, so it obviously retested, moved up to the midpoint, and this is what we can see here from the low. So we saw a deviation back inside, come up to the midpoint, and obviously we had also very nicely from the low to high here, 618 held perfectly, and we were also looking at this overall potential cup and handle, which in the end fell down to the golden pocket, moved up to the middle of the range where you 100% are taking profits, and then, well, for me, it stopped me out the rest of my position anyway. But, now you're back down to the bottom of the channel again. But yeah, bat's been pretty nice. FET. Yeah, I'm not sure on FET. But yeah, bat was a nice range one. Right? But bat was nice. And that's just like those little profits in the day that add up. It's pretty nice. Cool. So if nobody has any other questions, I guess I'll see you either in the chat here or contenders next week on the stream, or players watching this in the next stream again. But thank you everybody for watching today, and I will catch you next week. Thanks again, Daniel. More and more content. Yes, next week obviously being part 3. So you think you learned about parallel channels now, but next week we're going to go over even more ways of how to trade this even better. So yeah, part 3 next week. And I will catch you all in that stream. Thank you all so much for watching again. Catch you all in the chat or wherever I see you next. And hopefully you've thoroughly enjoyed, found this beneficial, and you can start, making some money with me on these trades. So thank you, everybody. Catch you next week, and good night. Cheers. Bye.